Yo, what's up everyone? Ronnie Chavez here, and today, as you can see, we're going to be learning some rolls. We're going to be learning 10 different rolls, plus a few extras. The amazing thing with rolls is they're great for when you're falling and you need to recover, or you need to recover from jumping off high objects, or you just want to look really cool. There's some really cool stylish rolls we're going to be learning today. So, let's jump into it. Our first roll is actually going to be just the basic one, the safety roll, or the shoulder roll. Now when doing this roll, you're not actually rolling on top of your shoulder, you're actually starting more on your shoulder blade, rolling diagonal across your back to your opposite hip area. The goal with this one is to avoid your spine because it's all about safety. So if you're falling or jumping off something high, you want to avoid rolling directly on your spine. Now if you want to check out more in-depth tutorials on all of the rolls I'm going to do today, I'm going to have a playlist link in the description below where you can find all those tutorials. Today I'm just going to give you some tips as we go through each roll. So that's your basic safety roll. Our next roll is going to be the back roll, because you sometimes find yourself falling backwards, especially if you're doing a backflip. Now there's two ways to do this. There's the gymnastic style where you're rolling directly over your spine into a perfect handstand onto your feet, or there's once again the safety roll style where you're actually rolling diagonal across your back again, but just going backwards. The easiest way to do the safety roll style is to actually start by doing a slow forward safety roll and then mimicking that same motion going backwards. Now if you just want to do a flashy back roll, then that's where you can do it more gymnastic style, but even with the flashy one you can still kind of avoid your spine by going to the side a little bit and then just pushing into a handstand. The next way you can learn how to roll is to actually do a side roll. Now there's a few different ways to side roll. You can do it as just a flat dead man's roll where you just fall, you pop up and your body's like fully laid out. That one's really good if you're like falling out of a car or moving at a fast speed so that you can absorb that impact and not break your arms. Or you can do the side roll with a little bit more of an actual roll, like a normal safety roll where you hollow your back a little bit more and try and get up on your feet. Now that you've mastered your safety rolls, you can actually start getting air with your rolls and doing the dive roll. Now the dive roll, once again, you'll want to do it into a safety roll, only you're diving into it, you're getting air, you're jumping into the air. Like with any move, this is one that just takes practice, starting small and progressing into it. And the higher and higher you go, you'll be able to feel where on your back you're messing up. So don't start out high right away, start out low so you can feel what you're doing and then slowly progress it as you feel smoother and smoother coming out of the roll. Now with the dive roll, you can go high or you can go far. Generally when you're coming high, your body's coming more straight down like a missile diving into the ground, and then you're using your body to absorb it into that roll. When you're going far, your body's a little bit more at an angle, so when you hit the ground, you can absorb it more into the roll. Because otherwise, if you're straight up and down diving far, you might just end up flipping onto your back instead of actually being able to roll out of it. So once you're confident with your dive rolls, that's when you're doing rolls with a little bit more impact. So now you can start thinking about the cool, flashy rolls you want to do, because those are going to be a little bit more dangerous, but there's always ways to progress into them. So the first flashy styled roll we're going to do is actually the Arabian roll. This is where you're doing like a backflip or an Arabian, doing a 180 rotation into a dive roll. The main thing to think about when doing this is luckily you don't have to flip it like you're fully committing to a backflip. You can actually cheat it, and as you're kind of rotating back, turn early so that you can spot the ground and see where you're going the whole time as you go into the roll. Like with any move, you can progress into the rotation, so you can start maybe even just facing a 90 degrees and doing just a slight turn into it. And then work your way to the full 180. So next up, our natural progression from the Arabian roll is the 360 dive roll. Now just like the Arabian roll, you can actually start by doing the Arabian roll, but then just slowly adding a little bit more and more rotation from your starting point. The goal is to just make sure you get that full twist around before you are committed to that dive roll. So with the Arabian roll, I start here, aiming for back there. So now as I progress into the 360 dive roll, I'm gonna move just 90 degrees, start here, and then my goal will be to throw it that way, but then get a full spin this way, basically turning it into an Arabian roll, only starting from this position. And once you can get all the way around rolling in the right direction from this position, it's not very far to then do it from here. So it's like you're just diving, doing a 180, and then doing an Arabian roll. One thing that'll really help with the spin here on the 360 dive roll for me is that I use one arm, kind of like a front flip setup, that's going to help me kind of get rotation so that I don't under rotate it. And then my other arm, the direction I'm spinning to the left, I'm gonna be what's kind of giving me a lift, like a Russian front flip, but it's also going to be helping me get rotation with my chest, so then that as I bring my arms together, I can spin it around real quick and be ready to open up for the 360 dive roll. And once again, our next progression from the 360 dive roll is going to be, it could be the 540 dive roll, but I can't do that one. So I'm gonna jump to the 720 dive roll, which is actually one I'm still working on and learning, and I can kind of do it, but I can't give you a lot of tips on it because I'm still working on it myself. But basically, what I do to try and do this one right now is I go like I'm gonna do a 360 dive roll, but then I jump really high, punch really hard, and then just spin as freaking fast as I can until I come all the way around and try and come into a roll. That's really all I can do right now. Maybe when I get better at it, I can give you more tips. So just be safe if you're gonna try that one, or if you're pro and can already do it, then whatevs. But here we go, attempt at the 720 dive roll. There we go, 720 dive roll. There's more of a 720 flop, but there you have it. If you're gonna try and learn this, remember to practice this move with pads and find someone who's better at it to teach you. But otherwise, let's move on to the next one. Next up, we have the suicide roll. Now this one is like you're running and doing a gainer and stretching out with your hands and landing on your head, but not actually landing on your head. You're absorbing with your hands and then just rolling forward again. So it's called a suicide roll because it looks like you're just gonna totally wreck it, but then you use your control of your body and your momentum to then roll out of it. And it's known as the suicide roll. I don't practice this move much, but what I learned from Kaylin Chan doing this move is that when you're diving it, you wanna make sure that you keep your feet arched in the air, and then once your back starts hitting the ground, that's when you kind of let your body start coming in for the roll, so that you get that counteraction motion of like a worm, but on your back, so that you can get a nice smooth roll out. So our next roll is actually a 360 suicide roll or a 360 inward roll, and these are actually easier to me and a little bit less scary than the actual suicide roll. And the reason why is because you can actually spot the ground while you're doing this move, so it's a little bit easier to control the roll out of it and not feel like you're just gonna land on your head. The way I like to do the 360 inward roll is, once again, I'm running forward like I'm going to do a gainer, and if I'm spinning to my left, I'm actually gonna kick my left leg to the right. Now that's gonna counteract the spin a little bit, but what this is gonna do is make it a bit easier for me to control my body in the air to get nice and straight, so that as I spin to come around, I'm spotting the ground, and then right as my hands are getting close to the ground, I'm gonna start continuing that spin, and then when my hands do touch the ground, that's when I really use the ground to kind of push into that last 180 to do the suicide roll away. So our next roll is actually going to be the start of a roll and then converting it into a kip-up. So I don't know the proper name for this, but I'm just gonna call it the Roll Kip-Up, because what you're doing is you're going into a forward roll, but then kind of stopping yourself and then going into a kip-up. So it's like the ultimate ninja move to get up from the ground. So the main thing with this move is you wanna make sure you have a kip-up down, and then from there, it's pretty simple. You're just going to be planting your hands, and as you go into the roll, you're going to try and set your head just behind your hands on the ground, because that's gonna set you up perfectly for that pop into the kip-up. And then you just wanna make sure you don't over roll it. You wanna make sure it's a slow roll so you can kind of stop your momentum to shoot it straight up into that kip-up. Our next roll is actually inspired by breakdancing. Actually, it is just a breakdancing move. This is the coin drop. Now, it doesn't have any real practical use in parkour, but it's a stylish move that you can incorporate into tricking or free running, or just showing off for your friends for fun, because it's cool to do. I'm not the best at coin drops because I'm not a breakdancer and don't practice them a lot, but they are really fun to do and practice. Basically, I get a wide stance with my legs, and then I'm going to kick one leg underneath as I drop my hands down as I'm scooping my right arm. It's basically following this kicking leg And then from there, it's almost like I'm trying to land on my back facing this way again. But then I'm going to keep that momentum, kicking both of my legs up. And then as I roll back onto my upper shoulders with that momentum, it allows me to twist and then push off the ground to then land on my feet again. So our last roll of the day is actually the shoulder pop roll. It's kind of like a side roll, but basically you're going to be going off your shoulders more and popping out of it. Kind of like the coin drop, but you're not spinning, you're just doing a side roll. So you want to kind of get down low into it and try and ride just the top of your shoulders across your neck. And then as you're coming over, you tuck in your feet a little bit and then kick them out, push off with my opposite hand to then try and land on my feet. That's the goal of the shoulder pop, is that you don't want to actually roll onto your feet. You want to actually pop out of it almost like a kip-up, landing onto your feet. So there you have it, everyone. There's 10, 11, 12 different ways to do a roll with some other little tweaks and variations. Let me know if you have any other cool rolls you can do in the comments, or any ones I missed in this video, because there's a lot of weird ways to roll, especially if you watch Pasha the boss. He does the craziest rolls. I'm always inspired by his creative movement. But anyways, most of the rolls today are your basic foundation for any safety roll or cool, flashy, stylish, free running roll. And that's all I got for you guys today, so thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.